It was a cold, rainy night in October 2018 when Emily Crawford, a 27-year-old graduate student, left her apartment in downtown Portland. She told her roommate she was going to a friend's house for a small gathering. Emily was cautious, smart, and always mindful of her surroundings. Yet that night she would vanish completely. No one saw her leave the building. Security cameras in the lobby showed her walking out with an umbrella, blending into the shadows of the wet streets. That was the last confirmed sighting. Her phone was left behind in her bag, which was later recovered in the apartment untouched. Her keys were still in her possession and her wallet was never found. The initial investigation focused on her friend's gathering. The police interviewed everyone present. Each person described Emily as lively, cheerful, but anxious about the weather. She had mentioned feeling stressed about her thesis, but nothing that suggested she would leave abruptly or put herself in danger. Witnesses confirmed she left the party, saying she wanted to get home early. That was the last anyone heard from her. The police immediately launched a missing persons case. They scoured CCTV footage across the city, tracking her movements. Footage showed her walking briskly down 12th Avenue, her umbrella shielding her from the rain. After that, there was a 45-minute gap. Cameras did not capture her entering any nearby buildings, and no public transportation records showed her boarding a bus or train. The more the investigators looked, the stranger it became. Emily was known to be independent and careful. She had no history of depression or erratic behavior. Her social media accounts were untouched, with her last post made earlier that week. Nothing unusual. Rumors began circulating online, as often happens with high-profile disappearances. Some suggested she had staged her own disappearance. Others speculated foul play, but there were no signs of struggle, no forced entry, nothing physical to suggest an attack. Then came the first odd clue. Emily's apartment complex had recently undergone renovations, including installing a new trash chute system. During a routine inspection, maintenance workers found a small item, a silver bracelet engraved with EC, wedged behind one of the lower chutes. It was wet, as if exposed to rain, but the room above had no sign of water leakage. The bracelet had been there for some time, according to forensics. No one could explain how it got there. Emily's roommate confirmed she never owned that bracelet. The police tested it for fingerprints. None matched Emily or anyone known in her circle. It was a cold lead, but one the investigators couldn't ignore. As days passed, searches expanded to nearby parks, alleys, riversides, and abandoned buildings. Volunteers and K-9 units scoured the city for clues, but nothing turned up. Emily seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Family members were devastated. Emily's mother, Helen Crawford, made public appeals, speaking directly to the press. Emily is smart, careful, and she would never leave without telling someone. Please, if anyone knows anything, come forward. We just want her home. Weeks turned into months. The police interviewed more than 100 potential witnesses. They checked every possible lead: ride shares, taxi logs, local businesses, and even underground forums where people had reported seeing strange figures near the city's industrial district. Nothing led to Emily. Then came a breakthrough of sorts. A delivery driver came forward, claiming that on the night of her disappearance, he saw a woman matching Emily's description standing near the docks, looking up at a warehouse that was supposedly abandoned. She seemed to be talking to someone, though he could not hear what was said. When he approached, she vanished into the shadows, as if swallowed by the night. Investigators immediately checked the warehouse. It was empty, dilapidated, and had no recent activity. However, inside, they found a small notebook with pages torn out. A single page remained, scrawled with the words, "I cannot go back. They are always watching." The handwriting was not Emily's, according to her friends and family, yet the cryptic message added a chilling dimension to the case. Who was they? And why would Emily say she couldn't go back? Speculation intensified. Some believed Emily had stumbled upon something dangerous, perhaps illegal activities in the industrial district or someone in the city with ties to organized crime. Others whispered about cults or secret societies, claiming she had encountered something beyond ordinary understanding. The truth remained elusive. Local news began to cover the story extensively. True crime forums dissected every known detail: her last known location, The security footage gaps, the abandoned warehouse, the silver bracelet. Every minor anomaly was examined. Every theory was debated. And yet no one had answers. The police eventually brought in behavioral analysts to create a profile. They concluded Emily was unlikely to have vanished voluntarily. She would not abandon her family, her studies, or her friends without explanation. The profile suggested that if foul play was involved, it had been executed by someone with knowledge of the city, someone who knew how to erase traces of their presence. 6 months after Emily disappeared, the case took another strange turn. A hiker reported finding a scarf in a wooded area near the river. It was embroidered with the initials EC and appeared to have been there for weeks. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Emily. The location was miles from her apartment with no obvious path connecting the 2 points. How had the scarf traveled there? There were no footprints, no signs of struggle. It was as if the item had moved on its own. The family clung to hope. Search parties intensified. Psychics and private investigators were hired, but no new leads emerged. Each discovery, the bracelet, the warehouse notebook, the scarf, only deepened the mystery. As the months passed, Emily Crawford's disappearance became more than just a case. It became a phenomenon. People in Portland spoke about her story in hushed tones, warning newcomers to avoid the industrial district near the docks. Some claimed to have seen fleeting shadows in empty warehouses, shapes moving where no one should be. Others reported a faint figure standing near the riverbank at night, staring silently into the water, disappearing as quickly as it appeared. Investigators revisited every lead. They analyzed phone records, traffic cameras, and credit card activity. Nothing suggested Emily had left the city voluntarily. There were no charges on her accounts, no messages sent after her disappearance, and her apartment remained untouched. It was as though she had been erased from normal life. A year later, a construction crew uncovered a hidden basement in an old warehouse near the docks, the same general area where Emily was reportedly seen the night she vanished. Inside, they found remnants of furniture, personal items, and several documents indicating that the building had been used for clandestine operations. Among the items were fragments of photographs, none complete, but showing people whose faces had been deliberately obscured. One corner of the basement contained a small sealed crate. Forensic analysis revealed traces of Emily's DNA, though her remains were never found. The discovery shocked investigators. It confirmed that Emily had likely been somewhere in that warehouse, yet how she got there and what happened next remained unknown. There were no suspects. No witnesses came forward with concrete evidence. The case, instead of narrowing, had grown more complex. Over the following months, new theories emerged. Some suggested Emily had been targeted for knowing too much about illicit activity in the city. Others believed she had stumbled upon a criminal network or an underground operation, and that her disappearance was a warning to others. Yet none of the theories could explain the small, strange details: the bracelet, the scarf found in the woods, the cryptic note from the warehouse. Each clue seemed disconnected from the others, yet together they formed a puzzle that no one could solve. Emily's family, though devastated, refused to give up hope. Helen Crawford continued to speak publicly, appealing for anyone with information to come forward. She organized search parties, created online forums, and worked tirelessly to keep Emily's story alive. The media covered the case for months, turning it into one of the city's most infamous unsolved disappearances. By the second year, the case attracted national attention. True crime podcasts and investigative journalists began documenting the story, interviewing friends, neighbors, and experts. Each retelling revealed more eerie coincidences: the timing of her disappearance on a particularly stormy night, reports of unexplained lights in the warehouse area, and the recurring appearance of her initials in locations she was never known to have visited. One of the most chilling accounts came from a local security guard. He had worked the night shift near the industrial district and recalled seeing a figure matching Emily's description near a shipping container. She appeared to be speaking to someone he could not see. When he approached, the figure turned and vanished behind the containers, as if passing through solid steel. This account could not be corroborated, yet it added a layer of unease that investigators could not ignore. The police eventually reopened the case with a focus on potential abduction. They re-examined records of known offenders in the area. Several suspects emerged, but none were ever charged. Surveillance video from nearby streets, though extensive, revealed gaps, areas where cameras were offline or malfunctioning during critical hours. No one could explain why or who might have manipulated the system. As years passed, Emily's disappearance began to attract theories bordering on the paranormal. Some online communities suggested her vanishing was tied to unexplainable phenomena in the area: flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable sounds reported by multiple witnesses. Investigators largely dismissed these claims but could not provide rational explanations for the bracelet, the scarf, and the partial DNA found in the warehouse. Meanwhile, Emily's friends and family struggled with closure. Annual vigils were held at her apartment, at the river near the docks, and at the warehouse. Each year, people left flowers, notes, and candles, hoping that somehow Emily could sense their efforts and find peace. Her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how fragile life could be, how quickly someone could disappear without a trace. Then, in 2023, a new lead surfaced. A man reported finding a small, water-damaged journal in a dumpster near the city outskirts. Inside were fragments of Emily's handwriting, cryptic entries about fear, a watchful presence, and a plan to confront something she called the organization. Investigators verified the handwriting as Emily's. This suggested she had been aware of danger and had tried to document it. Unfortunately, the journal was incomplete, with pages torn out, and offered more questions than answers. The final, most perplexing aspect of the case is the recurring pattern of unexplainable sightings. Residents and night workers in the area continued to report glimpses of a young woman matching Emily's description. Sometimes she appeared near the river, sometimes near the warehouse ruins, always fleeting, always silent. No one could engage with her, no one could communicate. Some theorized that these were hallucinations born from grief, but others insisted the sightings were too detailed and consistent to dismiss. Emily Crawford's case remains officially unsolved. Investigators continue to classify it as a probable abduction, but the trail has gone cold. The items left behind, the bracelet, the scarf, the journal, and the traces of DNA, are fragments of a story that may never be completed. Families of missing persons often seek closure, and sometimes they find it. In Emily's case, closure has remained elusive, yet her story continues to captivate those who study mysteries, reminding us that some disappearances defy explanation. The combination of mundane facts, a person leaving their apartment, a rainstorm, a few witnesses, and inexplicable anomalies, missing items appearing in odd places, mysterious notes and fleeting sightings, creates a narrative that is as haunting as it is real. As you reflect on Emily's story, consider the subtle signs we often overlook in our daily lives. The shadows that linger too long, the faint noises in empty places, the moments when intuition warns us of danger. Emily's disappearance is a stark reminder of how fragile our understanding of reality can be, how quickly ordinary events can turn extraordinary, and how some mysteries persist long after we hope for answers. Today, the warehouse has been secured and demolished, yet local residents report that the air around the area feels strange, as though memories of that night linger in the empty spaces. The city has tried to move on, but Emily's disappearance is etched into its history. An unresolved story of a life interrupted, a person erased from the ordinary world, leaving behind a sequence of clues that will likely never fully make sense. Emily Crawford is gone, yet her presence remains. In the eyes of those who loved her, in the whispers of witnesses, and in the fragments of evidence that defy logic, she has left a mark, a mystery that will continue to haunt those who seek to understand it. Some say the most chilling part is not that she disappeared, but that the trail she left behind suggests awareness, intelligence, and perhaps even a struggle against forces she could not name. What happened to Emily Crawford may never be fully understood, but the story continues to captivate, to terrify, and to remind us of the limits of our perception. And so the legend of Emily Crawford persists. Each October, friends and strangers alike light candles in her memory. They speak her name softly, hoping that the unseen might carry their words. They wonder whether she is still watching, still moving, still existing somewhere in a shadowed space beyond the reach of explanation. No resolution has been found, no answers offered, and yet her story continues, a chilling testament to the unknown, a reminder that sometimes reality is stranger and darker than fiction.